Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this review of the North Face Flight Vectiv. Now I'm super excited about this shoe because it's the first trail shoe to feature a full-length carbon plate. Now some of you might be thinking, what difference does a carbon plate make into a trail shoe? And I'm going to cover that in this video. First of all, I'm going to show you some of the tech details, and I recently tested this shoe out over a marathon distance on the trails in my local area, so I'm going to let you know how I got on with that as well. So first of all, quick look at this shoe. It is 247 grams, which is really lightweight for a trail shoe. It's got a full length carbon plate. It's got a 6mm heel drop, plenty of foam and traction, and the upper is supremely lightweight. For me, this shoe was true to size. I had no need to go up or down a size, but I do have fairly regular feet. If you have wide feet, that might be something you want to get some further advice on. There has been lots of hype around this shoe, so I'm excited to share with you some more details. The word Vectiv is a term you'll hear with some of the North Face range, and that really identifies the combination of a plate, the foam, and the sole. It is a patented technology by the North Face. You can identify it as a shoe that's going to give you cushioning without compromising energy return. As with all shoe reviews, let's start at the bottom and work our way through. The surface control grip on these shoes, you can see here, allows for acceleration uphill and grip uphill, and also braking downhill. You can see they're sort of double-sided, the ways that they were gripped. There's some 3.5mm lugs in there. Now the rocker midsole here, you can see it is curved at the front and at the back, and there's no real sort of flat point on this shoe, so it's gonna always be pushing you one way or the other. And these shoes are going to help you just reduce the effort required to lift your foot from your heel right through to the tip of your toe. Generally, this midsole is going to increase momentum and reduce fatigue. It is very squishy and soft, but not too squishy. So yeah, it's a good combination there, and it's going to work well with that carbon plate to reinforce that propulsion. So let's talk more about the 3D Vectiv plate in this shoe. This is the biggest talking point of this shoe without a doubt. So it has a full length carbon plate. You can see right from the heel, and you can even see at the front here where it's just popping up around the front of the shoe, both sides. And so the way that this carbon plate is constructed is very different to how you would see in a typical road shoe. Most road shoes have a lot of foam above and below that carbon plate so that you don't really feel it. This carbon plate has been strategically placed on top of the foam so that as you're going over undulating surfaces and different stones and rocks and things like that, your foot is actually sat slightly inside the plate. The way that the North Face team described this plate to me is that it's slightly canoe shaped. So at the edges, it's slightly risen so that as you are lifting off and turning and going forwards and back, it's actually going to help you have better stability and better traction on the trail. Obviously, a big selling point of a carbon shoe is that it's going to snap back and it's going to help launch you into your next step. So it's got a brilliant amount of cushioning underneath. It's going to support you as you land, and the carbon plate is going to really kick in as you take off. Some of the North Face athletes have already fed back that this shoe with the carbon plate in it gave them less fatigue over the similar distances they were doing before, and it's basically made their recovery a lot easier and made them feel fresher after the race. Now let's talk about the upper. So the most striking part of the upper in this shoe for me is this matrix mid panel here. It drains water really quickly. If you're to get any water in there, it's straight out the sides. Yeah, which allows your foot to just dry off and keep running. It's really lightweight material, and it's reinforced to just really lock down your foot in the middle of the shoe. You can see there's daylight coming through there as well, so it gives you an idea of how lightweight this shoe is. The rest of the upper is mainly knitted material on the forefoot here, and there is also a toe box construction, which is great for if you end up kicking a rock or hitting a stick or something. You don't want that smashing into your toe and doing yourself an injury, so it's nice to have that extra protection when you're out on the trails. The sock liner in this shoe, there isn't really much to it. There's no real sort of big amount of padding there or anything, but it is all material. It literally feels like a sock. So I don't think you'll have any problems with rubbing or anything like that. As you can see, there's a subtle North Face logo on the heel. Apart from that, it looks relatively unbranded, but I think that's a nice classy touch on this shoe. In the heel itself, there is a nice bit of padding here, which is really comfortable, and it's also going to help just hook your heel into the shoe, so as you lift off, it's not going to slip out. The tongue of this shoe is all woven into sort of a one sock upper, so there's no separate tongue in this shoe. And the lacing here, you can see there's sort of separate in and out holes for all of the laces as they got through, which is quite a nice design feature, I think. Inside the shoe, there's a removable insole, as you'd expect in most shoes. Now let's talk about the colour. Obviously this is a white shoe for the trails in England when it's raining and muddy. Not the best choice of colour, but I must say it looks smart, stands out, and somehow I managed to run a marathon in this shoe without getting it too muddy. There are a few different colour options now appearing of this shoe, so I'll pop them up on the screen now so you can check them out if you didn't quite want that bright white fresh feel. So I was super fortunate that the North Face seeded me this shoe, which is obviously a blackout version of what became the North Face Flight Vectiv. This shoe was a slightly earlier model, and they got a lot of feedback from athletes, thoroughly tested it, and then went away and made some small adjustments and tweaks to the fit and the feel just to make sure that it was spot on for launch, which I think is an amazing way to launch a shoe. You don't want to leave anything to chance when you're bringing out a brand new shoe and you're entering sort of trail running for the first time. So yes, well done North Face for that. I thoroughly tested these on multiple trail runs and yeah, of all kinds of distance. So I was already converted. I was already a big fan of these shoes, and I was quite sad I couldn't show them off to everyone else at that time. But having said that, when now this is out, I am really impressed by the new fit and the new feel of the upper, and the lockdown fit you get from this is better. So you can tell they made some improvements here. This is a perfect door to trail shoe, and if you have to cover off some road mileage within that, then this performs perfectly well on that as well. Next, let's talk about my experience running in the shoe. So as I said earlier, I actually ran a marathon in this shoe when it was practically fresh out of the box, and it fitted just perfectly. I didn't even notice it all the way around, and I totally loved this shoe. You definitely notice that rocker and that carbon plate under your foot. Because it's got all of that cushioning underneath, every step you take, there's plenty of absorption there, and you are just springing straight into your next step. So it's an instantly unique feeling to any other trail shoe I've put on. The conditions I've used these in so far have been in icy conditions early in the morning, and also in sunny conditions when it's still really wet underfoot. So I've taken it over kind of a bit of a mixed terrain. I'm yet to run in a thoroughly muddy, heavily boggy area with these. But so far, in a couple of runs that I have done in these, the traction's held up really well. When I took the shoe out on my long run, I was aiming for 30k, maybe 35k, depending on which way I came home. And we were just having so much fun out there. The sun was out, and had some great company on the run as well. So we just decided to finish it off, make sure we hit that marathon distance. And I must say, this just glided along quite nicely with me to a point where you just don't think about it. And as I always say, if you don't think about it, then it's probably perfect. And that's certainly what this shoe felt like on the day. Putting this on your feet and going for a marathon is probably not something you could do with most shoes fresh out the box without getting any pinch points, but this held up really well over that distance. And I tried to really think as I was going around about, you know, how does the shoe feel? Is there anything I can comment on? But in all honesty, it was just sort of poetic. It was just taking me through my step, and I just got the miles in, had a great time out on the trails, and had no distractions, which is perfect. I think this shoe is really for your more serious trail runners out there who are going to notice the benefits that the carbon plate brings, how lightweight it is. Not every trail runner will need that in a shoe. Some people are just wanting to get out the door and sort of have a bit of an escape and some variation in their training. But if you want something that's going to perform with you at a higher level, then this shoe's really worth checking out. I've also seen a few athletes pick these up to have a firmer shoe for doing sort of uphill hill sprints and things like that, things that are just going to sort of snap you uphill. And I must say, I've taken this on the road as well, and it performs really well on the road. So much so that you forget it's actually designed for the trails. So if you are looking for that shoe that's going to see you go the distance and you're going to be crossing trails and different pathways and different terrains, this is an all-round multi-terrain shoe, and I was really impressed with it. So how does this compare with other shoes? That's what we all want to know. So it is a bit of a one of a kind because it has a carbon plate in it, and most trail shoes aren't close to that. However, there are several other shoes that aren't far off this price point, and I'm going to talk about a couple of them now. The new On Cloud Ultra comes in around £160, and the Adidas Terex Speed Ultra is also £160. Both of those shoes look pretty exciting, and I'm yet to try them out, but I do have a pair of Adidas Terex Speed Ultra on the way, so hopefully we'll get to review them very soon. Another shoe I'm super excited to try out is the New Balance Fresh Foam Hierro. I've just got my hands on it. They are fresh out of the box, and I'm going to be looking forward to testing these out and seeing how the two can compare. I think these have got a seriously nice look about them, and the Vibram sole looks amazing too. Now, there are loads and loads of great trail shoes out there. Drop your comments below and let people know what you're wearing at the moment on the trails. I do a lot of my mileage on the roads, and I take to the trails for freedom, for a bit of enjoyment, to add some variety into my training. I'm not constantly on the trails, so obviously your opinion is very valid, and I'd love to know what shoes I should try in the future. If you have enjoyed this video, please smash the like button for me and subscribe so you don't miss any future reviews or training updates. And as ever, if you've tried this shoe, I definitely want to know your thoughts and your experiences of it. So comment below and let me know how you got on.